The jungle pulsed with life and death in equal measure. Quinn crouched beside a twisted root, sweat crawling down his spine beneath a sun-bleached uniform. The planet, Kyraxis 3, as his corporate dossier labeled it, was a cathedral of green shadows and predatory silence. Every tree had teeth. Every shadow a tongue. But none of it unnerved him quite like the sound he heard now. Labored breathing, deep and wet, like bellows straining through blood. He should have turned back. Instead, rifle loose in hand, Quinn followed the sound. It led him to a ravine carved by old water and time, where foliage fell away to reveal something he couldn't immediately process. Limbs. Fangs. Muscles like stone cables stretched over bone. The beast lay slumped against a cliffside, wings half-folded, chest heaving. Blood pooled beneath its ribs, glinting like oil in the filtered sunlight. Razor hide. He'd seen the drone footage. This was the planet's apex predator. Ambush hunter. Top of the food chain. Pure death, scaled and clawed. Quinn lowered his rifle. "Hell happened to you?" he muttered, more to himself than the creature. Razorhide didn't flinch. One of its hind legs was caught in a crude metallic trap, far more primitive than the technology locals were rumored to use. The wound festered, deep and angry. Poachers. He should walk away. He'd been separated from his team during the last storm, communications dead, his path home uncertain. This thing wasn't just dangerous, it was dying. And desperate. Quinn holstered the rifle. He moved slowly, making sure his boots crunched deliberately on dried leaves. If he startled it, he'd die before he could blink. But the beast didn't lunge. It didn't growl. It just watched. Its left eye tracked him with a strange patience. Intelligence? Recognition? Maybe. Or maybe the thing was too far gone to care. He knelt a few feet away, hands raised.
"Right.
Let's get one thing straight. You bite me, I'll shoot you. But I'm guessing you're smart enough to know that's a raw deal." Still nothing. Quinn unpacked his kit with practiced efficiency. His medkit was half spent, used treating his own scrapes and fevers, but he still had the basics. Antiseptic, coagulant foam, pain stims. He approached the trap. The creature's lips peeled back, exposing rows of obsidian teeth. A low rumble echoed from its chest. "I get it," Quinn said softly. "But this thing's killing you." He reached out and touched the trap. The metal was hot, likely powered. A quick inspection revealed a cracked capacitor, dangerous but fixable. "This is gonna suck," he warned. With a grunt, he jammed a screwdriver into the release and twisted. The trap exploded open with a metallic clang. The beast roared. Quinn dove backward, arms raised. The creature thrashed, flinging soil and blood. But it didn't strike him. It writhed in pain, the freedom of movement more agony than relief. Then, as if a switch flipped, it collapsed, shaking, breath ragged. Quinn waited. 5 seconds. 10. When the creature made no move to kill him, he edged forward again. Cleaned the wound as best he could. The creature trembled when the foam hissed into place. A sound escaped its throat. Not a growl. Not a scream. Something low.
Weak.
Almost questioning. Quinn looked it in the eye. "I've heard worse." He unwrapped a ration bar and took a bite before offering the rest. The creature sniffed, then, to his astonishment, took it delicately between massive jaws.
Chewed.
Swallowed. That's mildly horrifying. It didn't blink. He fed it another piece. From the tree-lean, unseen, someone else watched. Not human. Cloaked in refracted light, hunched and insectoid, a researcher of the Varen Collective studied the display with a dozen blinking eyes. "This is illogical," the Varen muttered in their native tongue. That creature should have gutted him. Consumed him. Another voice crackled through a calm bead. "Are you certain it was not sedated? I analyzed the thermal residue. The human did not use any tranquilizers. Only crude medicine. This behavior does not conform to the Apex's known instincts." Back in the ravine, Quinn set up a crude shelter beneath a leaning boulder. The creature, Razorhide, he decided, lay curled nearby, its breath shallower now, less labored. A peace had settled between them. Not trust. Not yet. But a truce. Quinn leaned back against the stone and looked up at the alien stars. They weren't his. Nothing here was. The mission brief had promised resource survey, minimal hazard, 5 weeks in and out. He chuckled bitterly. Should have known better. Razorhide shifted. Quinn looked over and, on impulse, reached out a hand, slowly, openly. Razorhide blinked. Then, to his disbelief, nudged its massive skull against his palm. A weight settled in Quinn's chest. Not fear. Something older.
Deeper.
This isn't mercy, he whispered. You and me, we've both got work to do. From the trees, the alien observer's mandibles clicked in apprehension. We may have misunderstood the human's intent, it said. A pause. Continue observation, came the order. But begin evacuation protocols. If it is what I suspect, we are not prepared. And in the quiet clearing beneath the stars, man and monster rested, neither prey nor predator now. Something else. Something worse. Something bonded. And bonding, the Varen would later note, was a human specialty. The sun over Kyraxis 3 cut hard shadows through the jungle canopy, painting streaks of amber across Quinn's shoulders as he moved silently, rifle cradled but at ease. Beside him, Razorhide slinked between the trees, each step silent despite its massive frame. The wound on its leg had scabbed over into a thick black scar. It no longer limped. It hunted. Quinn watched it pause near a thicket, nostrils flaring. Something small, a 6-legged rodent, translucent and fast, darted through the underbrush. Razorhide shifted, waited, and then pounced. The snap of vertebrae echoed once before silence returned. He didn't flinch. He should have. You're getting better, Quinn muttered, jogging over. Razorhide looked up, mouth streaked with blood. It stepped aside from the kill and nudged it toward him. Quinn blinked. Sharing, huh? You're learning manners. You'll be using silverware next. The creature snorted and resumed chewing. Quinn crouched beside it and tore off a chunk with his knife. Alien meat tasted like battery acid and old coins, but it was better than the military rations he'd burned through 3 days ago. They ate in companionable silence. Above them, cloaked among the branches, Varen observers logged every interaction. The lead scientist, Scareth, whispered into a neural relay. It mimics his behavior. Do you see it? The gestures. The vocal cues. It interprets them. A second voice responded, more anxious. Is that mimicry or comprehension? Scareth paused. Unclear. But either is dangerous. Quinn didn't know he was being watched. He wouldn't have cared. He had more immediate concerns, like getting off this damn planet before the next storm cycle fried another comm relay. Or worse, before something worse than Razorhide showed up. He glanced at the beast.
No.
That wasn't right anymore. Razorhide wasn't a threat. Not to him. That truth had reshaped the jungle. Twice now, the creature had warned him of nearby dangers. Low rumbling growls that steered Quinn away from poisonous nests and unstable ground. Once, it had even stood between him and a venom-spitting tree lurker, taking the blast across its armored flank. The creature had crushed the predator in seconds. Then it had turned to Quinn, waited, and bowed its head. Quinn had placed a hand on its snout without thinking. Razorhide hadn't flinched. Still, he never forgot what it was. Not a dog. Not a pet. It didn't roll over or fetch. It hunted.
Killed.
And followed him not because of weakness or domestication, but something older.
Pack. He was its pack now.
At night, they made camp near a crescent-shaped gorge. Razorhide curled up nearby like a warm boulder, its breath deep and even. Quinn sat by the firelight, flipping a serrated combat knife over his knuckles, mind turning. Someone had laid that trap. Someone with off-world tech and enough nerve to try caging a planetary apex. That wasn't some desperate poacher. That was calculated, coordinated, and close. He stared into the flames. The firelight reflected in Razorhide's eyes. The creature was watching him. You feel it too, don't you? Quinn murmured. A low rumble answered. They weren't alone in this jungle, and whatever was hunting them didn't realize it had become the hunted. 3 clicks sounded from his earpiece, static bursts on an open channel. Not human code. Not friendly. He froze, then slowly adjusted the frequency and listened. Voices. Guttural. Mechanical. Not from Earth. Mercs. Team Alpha reports movement toward ridgeline. Scanners picked up 2 heat signatures. 1 humanoid. 1 unclear. Quinn clicked the earpiece off.
Slowly stood.
They're coming. Razorhide rose without command, hackles raised, nostrils flaring. The bond had deepened past words. Instinct flowed both ways now. He moved quickly, quietly. They needed high ground and cover. The gorge walls would funnel enemies into narrow lanes. A kill box. Razorhide followed, tail low, steps fluid. In the trees behind them, Scareth clicked with alarm. Mercenary units have entered the sector. They will reach the human within 20 minutes. Another Varen replied. Then extract him. Retrieve the predator for study. We can still salvage. No, Scareth said coldly. Observe. We need to know what he's made of. What they are. The observers melted into the canopy. By the time the mercenaries reached the first marker, a tree trunk split neatly from top to root. Razorhide and Quinn were shadows among the rocks, waiting. Quinn didn't feel fear. He felt anticipation. Razorhide pressed close beside him, heart pounding like a war drum. This wasn't survival anymore. This was a message. And they were about to deliver it. The first mercenary died, without a sound. One moment he stepped through the gorge's choke point, scanning the brush with a plasma carbine. The next, Razorhide dropped from the cliff above, jaws crushing helmet and skull in a single, wet crunch. The body vanished into the undergrowth before the others noticed. Quinn watched from a ledge above, motionless, his breath calm. The other 3 mercs, heavily armored, methodical, fanned out in textbook formation. Professional, but not prepared. Not for this. Razorhide slithered back into the shadows, massive but silent. Years of evolution had carved it for this exact terrain. Now it hunted not for food, but for him. Another mercenary turned. Too slow. Razorhide blurred through the foliage, struck with a clawed swipe that severed an arm and crushed the torso against a stone outcrop. Blood misted the leaves. Screams cracked the air. Quinn moved. He dropped into the chaos, rolled, and came up behind the last 2 with rifle raised. One turned just in time to catch a burst in the chest, staggering, but not fatal. Their armor held. The other opened fire, plasma rounds scorching bark and stone as Quinn ducked behind a fallen tree. Contact. Hostile, human and unknown creature, the muck shouted into his comms. Request immediate evac. A shadow loomed. Razorhide pounced, and the transmission ended in static and bone. Quinn rose from cover, stepping over the scorched earth, rifle lowered. 1 merc remained, crawling backward, wounded but conscious. Blood leaked from under his chest plate. You don't get it, do you? Quinn asked, voice quiet. You never had a chance. The merc raised his weapon with shaking hands. Razorhide growled. Don't, Quinn said. It won't be quick. The merc froze. Quinn crouched beside him. You thought I was alone. You saw a human stranded and assumed that made me vulnerable. That's where you screwed up. Behind him, Razorhide paced slowly, not attacking, waiting. Obedient. Controlled. No predator survives this jungle alone, Quinn continued. But we're not predators anymore. We're partners. The merc's eyes darted from Quinn to the beast. It follows you. No, Quinn said. It trusts me. He stood, signaled with 2 fingers. Razorhide backed off, slinking into the brush. Quinn left the merc alive, wounded, but intact.
Go, he said.
Tell whoever sent you. The jungle has new rules now. He turned without another word. Razorhide fell into step beside him, the pair vanishing into the trees. Up in the canopy, the Varen scientists recorded in silence. Scareth finally spoke. They have formed a behavioral fusion. The apex no longer acts independently. It defers. A junior scientist clicked nervously. How is that possible? There is no shared language. No prior bonding species. It defies protocol. It defies biology, Scareth replied. And that is what makes it terrifying. Back on the forest floor, Quinn and Razorhide moved in silence, the battle already fading into memory. They were not prey, not monsters, not anomalies. They were a warning. As the sun set and the air cooled, Quinn leaned against a rock and watched Razorhide clean its claws with slow, deliberate swipes. He tossed the creature a protein bar. It caught it midair and swallowed whole. Quinn said, I used to think survival was about strength, about staying ahead, outlasting. Razorhide tilted its head. But it's not. It's about connection. You're faster, stronger, meaner than I'll ever be. But I gave you something you didn't have. The beast blinked. A reason. From high orbit, the Varen ship adjusted trajectory, silent and swift. In their databanks, a new file was tagged, Human Adaptive Bonding Behavior, Class Omega Threat. Underlined in crimson. If a human feeds one of your monsters, run.